everyone. Welcome to another session of Better Business Conversations with Practice Better. My name is Brittany Andrusian. I'm a business success coach with Practice Better, and today I'm joined with Stephanie Long. So Stephanie is a wealth of information, and she's here today to chat with us about how to let your niche guide your content creation. So welcome, Stephanie. We are so grateful to have you here today.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to share.
Yeah, awesome. So for those of you who don't know Stephanie, Stephanie is a business coach for nutritionists and the host of the Next Level Nutrition Biz podcast. She teaches students, recent grads, and new nutritionists how to start and grow a nutrition business through her step-by-step signature program, Launch Your Nutrition Biz. She also gives industry-specific advice and intentional marketing and growth strategies inside her membership. So we are so excited to have Stephanie on today. I'm going to actually let Stephanie take the stage and she can walk us through how to let our niche guide our content creation. So I'm going to turn off my camera and pass it over to Stephanie.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Brittany. I'm really excited to share today. This is a topic that I love talking about niche. I love talking about content creation. So when Brittany reached out to ask me to share, I was really excited. So let me just get my screen set up here. All right, so you should be able to see that there. So again, just to reiterate, we are talking about how to let your niche guide your content creation. Again, my name is Stephanie Long. I'm a business coach for nutritionists, and I specifically help nutritionists to start and grow their business and set those foundations. So that's really what we're talking about today, is those foundations of having a really clear niche and having really clear content that you're sharing. And the two really go together. So when I was putting together this material, I thought, well, I can't not talk about niche because that is step one before we even get to content creation. I know so many of you might start with, okay, I'm just going to start putting content out there, which is good. It's good to get your feet wet, but we really want to put strategic and intentional content out. So the niche part really has to come first. So let's actually talk about niche for a second. So just as a disclaimer, when we don't have a niche or a focus for our business, we are really trying to speak to everyone, and then we end up speaking to no one at all. So you might be experiencing this if you're like putting kind of more general health and nutrition information out, and crickets, no one's responding, they're not liking, they're not commenting, and you feel like, I'm creating all of this information and it's not resonating. And that might be because you don't have a clear niche, or that the content isn't also clear. So there might be two things here we need to work on, but the first one's going to be making sure you have a clear niche. So just to preface this, without a focus or a niche, you're really going to risk not connecting with your audience. So just like I said, you're kind of putting things out and it's like a hit or miss. You don't know if they're going to like what you have to say or not. And there's just no connection or community there. You're also risking staying too broad or open. You feel like you have to talk about everything. And then you're more of a generalist versus a specialist. So again, you might be like a jack or a Jill of all trades, but not really good at one thing. And that can be a bit of a risk in your business as well. You might also risk being inspirational, not educational. So you might have people reaching out and saying, wow, thanks for the post. This was a great post, but they're not actually converting into sales, right? People are really liking you and maybe they're interested in your content, but it's not actually creating business for you. And then the last one is you might have to charge low prices versus higher, more premium prices when you don't have a focus or a niche. So let's actually talk about when you do have a focus or a niche, what this could look like in your business. So you could end up providing more clarity for your audience, right? If you know what you're talking about, they know what you're talking about, everybody understands, right? There's so much clarity and there's no need to feel like you have to cover everything and get overwhelmed. So again, clarity on both sides. You're also identifying who you help and who you don't help, which is really, really important. So it's not just I'm helping everybody. It's no, I'm helping this one section of people or this one niche of people. And, I'm not helping this other section of people over there, which means that you can be easily referred to. So if somebody knows, another practitioner knows you're really good at helping this subset of people or this niche, they might refer over to you. And then you can refer out if that client doesn't fit your niche as well. So it allows you to become an expert in one main area, which is amazing. You're going to get that more authority, expert status, and become that go-to. You're also giving yourself more focus. Like I said, you're not overwhelmed trying to do everything for everyone, trying to say everything. You're feeling really focused and aligned. And then you might have the opportunity to charge more premium prices because you do have a focus. You do know exactly what you're saying. You know exactly who you're helping. You don't have to charge a low price and keep it, very broad. You can charge a more specific price because you're creating a transformation for your clients. So that, again, is the difference between not having a niche, having a niche. So important for us to really set the stage and now talk a little bit about what it might look like to dig more into having a niche and creating content that works for your niche. So if you don't have a niche, you might be feeling a bit overwhelmed. If you do have a niche, that's awesome. That's great. This can still apply to you to get more clarity. But if you're sitting there like, I don't really know where to start, I want to give you 3 ways to really get clear on your niche. And this is going to help us with our content creation. So this is all very important in that content creation process. So the first one is, who do you want to help? Who are those people? Who is that group? Who is that section or that demographic? What is their health issue, or who exactly are they, right? We need to get clear on what does that group look like. And then the second thing is, what problem do you want to solve? So, are these people going through a specific health issue? Do they all have a specific challenge? They probably have a problem, and we really need to understand what that problem is. And then the last thing is, you need to now figure out the solution that you want to provide to solve that problem. So this is where you get to put your own unique spin on things, bring in your own framework, or as we're going to go into soon, is coming up with more strategic outlines for how you're actually going to solve this problem, and then what you're going to share in your content. So I like to explain this to my clients is kind of this A to B transformation. This is really the baseline of niching or creating your nutrition programs or your health and wellness programs. You can use this analogy for almost anything in your business. And it's really smart to come back to it, to really think through how, whenever you're creating anything in your business, I want you to really think about this. So I'll go into it in detail in a second, but basically we have A, and then we have B on the other end, and in the middle is our solution, offer, or program. So what do I mean here? Let's dig into it. So when we look at the A to B transformation, we can think about point A. So over here, that's where our client currently is. It's their current health state, their current condition, the symptoms they're experiencing, the difficulties they have, the concerns they have. They're probably over here in point A, not feeling so great. But they know that they want to get to point B. That's where they want to be. It's where it's how they want to feel. It's what they want to achieve. It's their ultimate health goals, their ultimate desires, the person they want to become, right? So again, they're over here kind of starting out in a place they might not feel so good, but they want to feel much better. So that's that A to B transformation. And then what you're going to do is your job is actually to create a program or an offering to bridge the gap between point A, where they are not feeling so great, to point B, where they want to be, bridge that gap and really solve a problem for them. So we're really talking about problem solving here. And this is actually the key to, like I said, anything in your business, whether that's creating your niche, what problem are you solving? If it's creating a nutrition program, what problem is that program solving? Content also, what is this piece of content solving for that person? So once you think about it in this model, things are going to get a lot easier for you. So once you have your niche nailed down, or at least have a really good idea about what that might be, and you have an idea for an offering or for that program that you want to use to solve that client's problem, what we need to do is start creating strategic content related to your niche. So we're throwing away that content that we're just putting out for putting out content's sake, like, okay, I know I need to do a post, I better put something out. Sure, once in a while you might fall into that, but overall, we want you to have a very strategic plan for your content. So by creating more niche specific content, this is going to help you to stay consistent with your focus and messaging. So no more jumping all over the place. You can say goodbye to that overwhelm, that, scattered feeling, that never ending to-do list in your head where you're like, there's so many things I need to be doing or so many things I need to say. We can get way more focused and specific. Creating niche specific content also helps you to stay in your zone of genius. Now, if you haven't heard of zone of genius, this is basically like what you're best at, what you feel really good doing. So no more speaking to something you don't feel confident about, or something that you're not interested in. Again, we're trying to kind of get rid of that Jack or Jill of all trade mentality and get more zoned in on what are you as a unique person really, really good at, and helping you do more of that. That's where you're really going to shine. So again, this is like creating all of that content that helps you stay in your zone of genius is going to make building your business and growing your business a little bit easier and more fun, really. The next thing is it's going to help you organize your content creation more effectively and efficiently. So we can start planning out, months of content or a couple months of content and have a real plan based on, what you want to promote in your business. Or, if you want to have new one-on-one clients come in, we're creating content to kind of push people or bring people into that funnel in a very strategic and organized way. And then the last thing is you're going to help attract and convert your ideal clients more easily. So no more, putting stuff out, feeling like crickets and nobody's coming in and you're ready to, throw in the towel. This is really going to help you create content that, again, drives people down into a funnel and gets them to work with you and say yes, because you have been really clear about how you can help them. Okay, I'm just going to have a sip of water quickly. All right. So the first step with creating niche specific content is to brainstorm everything you want to share with your clients inside of your program or your offering. So this could be like a 12-week hormone balancing program or an 8-week program to help athletes, something like that. Like whatever it is, whatever problem you want to solve for your client, we want to brainstorm everything you want to help them with. So this is your time, your chance to really do a brain dump and get all of those ideas down, because I know we all have them in our head. So I just want you to write everything down that you could even think about helping somebody with. The next step is, and this is a very crucial step, we want to take that big brainstorm list and we want to actually narrow it down to about 3 to 5 main content pillars. Now we're going to go into what content pillars are in a second, but what I'm asking you to do is, this might be hard for some of you that are like, how can I narrow it down? But this is going to help us with that focus and that intentionality to get really, really clear. So again, we're taking this big brainstorm list and we're just going to actually zone it down and categorize it into 3 to 5 main content pillars. So what are content pillars? You might have heard this, maybe not, but content pillars are essentially the core themes or categories that you want to teach to your clients in your program or offering. So instead of, teaching 30 things that we probably aren't going to be able to get to, we're going to maybe categorize it into 3 to 5 main things and then have some subtopics under there. So let's actually go through an example of what this might look like. So example number 1 is you're helping women balance their hormones. So your content pillars might be basic nutrition is one, supplementation is another pillar, and lifestyle changes is another one. Sure, we're going to have categories under each of these main content pillars, but you can see now, instead of feeling like you have to talk about 1,000 things, we're now talking about 3 main things. Here's another example. So you're helping runners train for a marathon. So your content pillars might be pre and post workout, meal prepping and planning, supplementation, and recovery. So again, it's like really just helping you to zone in on what are the things that I have to share, those main content pieces or those main pillars that will make a big difference in my client's life. And not only is this helpful for creating our programs, this is going to be really helpful for our content, which you'll see in a little bit too. So we came up with those main content pillars. We did the big brainstorm, we've narrowed it down. Now we want to come up with subtopics for each of our content pillars. So what does subtopics mean? So I created this little chart here to really put it into action for you. And I would actually recommend, hitting pause, grabbing a piece of paper, writing this down, doing this with me right now. So the first thing you would do is at the top of, and you could use like a Google spreadsheet or even just on with pen and paper. Pillar 1, we want to put what the pillar is. So here I've given the example of hormone healing, and then the subtopics that you would actually talk about with your client, about basic nutrition. So I gave the topics: macronutrients, blood sugar balancing, hydration, foods to include and avoid. You could really, again, brainstorm a lot more and put a lot more down here. We might have to narrow down that list at some point as well. But again, anything that you would want to share about nutrition to help your clients with hormone healing is what you want to put here in this pillar. Pillar 2 is supplementation. So you'll see here, for example, I put B vitamins, magnesium, probiotic, liver support. And then pillar 3 is lifestyle changes. And this is where we might get into things like movement, sleep, stress management, self-care. So again, it's taking all those million ideas and starting to really organize and categorize it. So to take things even a step further, you can come up with content ideas under each of your subtopics. Now, this is really where we're taking that idea of getting clear on your niche, formulating more of a program, what you're going to share there, and then now taking that and actually making that into content ideas. So this is a similar chart to what I shared before, but now what we've done is actually taken the subtopics and broken them down into actual ideas that you could share on social media, you could share in client handouts, you could share on a YouTube video, anything like that. So let's go through this. So pillar 1, again, we have basic nutrition, our subtopic macronutrients. Now maybe you're going to talk about what are macronutrients? How do you build a balanced plate? Why is protein important with hormone healing? You can really start to list all of these things that you want to share with your client or as content. Blood sugar balancing, foods to eat to balance blood sugar, foods to avoid. What is blood sugar? What is the blood sugar roller coaster? There's so much you could talk about. Hydration, adding electrolytes, how to actually drink water throughout the day, doing infused water. Again, so many things that you can bring in, so many ideas that you can share. But again, we're just talking about 3 main categories here with subtopics. We're not talking about the million nutrition and health and wellness topics. We've really, really narrowed it down. So this should really, really help you to, again, clean up your mind and what you're thinking of and be very intentional about how to move forward. So your content pillars are going to be the basis for all of the content you create, which is why this exercise is so important. Again, you can reference this at any time and you can say, okay, I need to create a post this week for social media. I want to start talking about more basic nutrition and I haven't really explained blood sugar balancing. Maybe that's where I'm going to start this week. So again, you're picking a very specific topic under a pillar that is very important to teach on. So the next steps for creating your niche related content, there's a few. There's so many things that can be said or come to mind when it thinks about creating content, but I wanted to give you a few very simple steps to take right now to not get overwhelmed with the content creation process. So the first thing I want you to do is choose which platform you're going to share your content on. So maybe this is social media. Maybe you have a blog and you want to start sharing a main blog post. Maybe you have a podcast and you're going to be sharing content there, YouTube. You could even strategize and instead of having your own podcast or blog or YouTube, maybe you're going to do guest blogging or guest podcasting. This is a great way to get yourself out there in front of an audience. Let's say you have a smaller audience. You can actually go as a guest on a podcast or a blog and actually tap into this other bigger audience and bring those people over to you and create them into your community and bring them into your community as well. The last one could be newsletters. So again, there's so many places you could be creating content for, different platforms. I don't think that you need to be on all of them. Pick a few and be very, very strategic. And as we'll talk about it in a little bit, is we can repurpose content on these different platforms, but even thinking, what is the main place I'm creating most of my content? For a lot of you, it might be social media. For some of you, it might be a blog. So really think about, where am I creating this like long form piece of content, and where am I posting that? And then later on, we can think about how to repost that and repurpose it on other platforms. So the next thing you're going to do after you've chosen where you're going to be posting this content, you're going to choose which content pillar you want to focus on and which subtopic you want to create content for. So again, maybe you're saying, this week, I really want to talk about supplementation, and I want to talk about the importance of B vitamins. But maybe people are confused, like, why are B vitamins important for hormone balancing? So that could be a post, right? Why you need B vitamins for hormone balancing, right? So again, we're going back to that content pillar list. We're looking at a subtopic, we're picking something that makes sense to talk about, and that's what we're going to create the content for. What I really recommend you do is rotate through your content pillars often to make sure you're educating on each one. Because we're looking at people holistically and we're not just saying it's just nutrition or it's just movement or anything, we want to make sure that we are educating on each one of those pillars evenly and balanced, so that you're giving a really good, clear picture of all of the steps it's going to take to help them do XYZ. In my example, balance their hormones. So that could be like, maybe on 1 week, you're gonna do pillar 1, and you're gonna share a few subtopics on pillar 1. And then week 2 of the month, you're gonna share on pillar 2. Week 3, you're gonna share on pillar 3. And then you're gonna go back and share on pillar 1 again. You could do it like that. You could really set up your schedule however it makes sense, knowing you're gonna rotate through all of this information. And then what I want you to do when you're actually creating this content is, I want you to create content based on or speaking to the pain points and the desires of your clients. So if you remember way back, we talked about that point A to point B transformation, where your client currently is and where they want to be. You can actually talk about this in your content. So you could write a blog post of, I know you're struggling with, imbalanced hormones, bad periods, migraines, mood swings, but you really want to feel confident in your body. You want to feel like you are able to go spend time with friends, that your body is working with you, not against you. And here's how you're going to do that, right? So you can really speak to both sides and then outline a game plan for them. So this is where you can bring in that content, and you could say, taking something like a B vitamin is going to really, really help you balance those hormones, or whatever it is that you want to put there, right? Whatever it is you're dealing with. And that's how you're going to insert that content. But we're still really speaking to those pain points and those desires to make it feel really personal to the client and make them feel really heard. And also, when we start positioning it with, here's the problem you're having, and here's how you want to feel, and here's the solutions that I have for you, you're really positioning yourself as an expert. You're going to really give them that know, like, and trust factor to really trust in you, that you are a practitioner or a health provider that can help them. And this is a win-win for everyone. Again, they're more clear and you're more clear, and now you're creating content that is actually helping to push people into your funnel and hopefully sign up with you as a client. The other way that you can really start to come up with content ideas, let's say you've done your content pillars, you're like, I've spent time, I've rotated through them, but I'm just fresh out of ideas. This happens, I've been there, done that, I totally get it. The main thing that I want to tell you here is go back to your audience, poll your audience for content ideas, ask them what they want to learn about. So this could be actually sending out a survey and, on your newsletter and saying, give me your ideas for what you want to learn about, or, asking them certain questions to prompt them to give answers. Or you could use social media like Instagram or Facebook and use polls, or use the question box feature and really get information back. And by asking your audience what they want to learn, you're going straight straight to the source. So you know that this content is going to really hit them and really feel like, okay, this is what I needed to hear, right? We're not guessing. We're not, you know, making this up or pulling this out of thin air. We know that this is content they really want to learn about. So this is a home run way to really figure out, you know, how to create content that's really going to make a difference for them. The next thing could be do some market research to come up with your content ideas based on your pillars. So again, if you're like, I have an idea for maybe my pillar is basic nutrition, or my pillar might be supplementation to help heal hormones, but like what am I actually teaching there? Or what do people want to learn about? Or what are other people in the industry teaching about? So do some market research. You could actually go and look at what some other practitioners within your niche are teaching about and use that as inspiration. You could even go online and use some keyword searches. I think it's called Answer the Public. That's one of my favorites. You can check that out, and you can just put keywords in and actually see what people are searching for on the internet, and then you can create content for that. You could even go into Facebook groups and see what questions are being asked. There's like the possibilities are endless with market research. And again, this is my favorite thing to do if I'm getting stuck and I don't know what to create for content that week. Even though maybe my content pillars are set up, I might just be, again, flat out of ideas, going back to the market research, seeing what people said, and then letting that spark the creativity can really help. And then, like I mentioned earlier, you know, we don't have to be on a hamster wheel of creating content forever, like every single week for the rest of our lives. We don't have to create, you know, 3 new pieces of content. We can repurpose content. So you could, you know, what you posted on Instagram, you can repost on Facebook, or maybe you take some of that and put it in a long form blog post, or shorten it and put it on a newsletter. I really recommend, you know, don't just post your content in one place and leave it, repost it in multiple places, because some people sit down and read content, you know, differently on different applications or different platforms. Like I might see an Instagram post from someone I love following, but, you know, skim through it, and then an email comes in that they've sent, and I actually take the time to sit down and read that full email. Even though it was the same thing as the Instagram content, it's just the way that I like to absorb content. So again, repurpose your content on different platforms. And most importantly, recycle your content over time. You know, something that you created a couple months ago, you can repost. You can either reshare that exact content with a new photo, or maybe you change the caption up a bit. You can recycle all of this. And the real good reason, one of the best reasons to do this, is that you're going to have new followers or new blog readers or new YouTube subscribers or newsletter subscribers all of the time. So if you shared something 3 months ago or a year ago and you're like, I've already shared about that, I don't want to talk about it again, all of those new followers are missing out on this information. So when I work with my clients, not only do we set up our content pillars and start creating content for those pillars, we then go and recycle old content and continue to educate our community on those pillars. So after a while, you might feel like you're repeating yourself and you're saying the same thing over and over, like content pillar 1, 2, 3, and you're constantly going through that. But that's good. That means that you're being focused, you're being clear, your niche is really clear. And people need repetition. They need to hear something. I don't even know what the research is anymore, but I know at one point it was like 18 times to, you know, really have that nailed down. So if you're only saying something once and not re-saying it, you might be missing out on really nurturing your community. So I can't stress this point enough. So now you've got your game plan for creating strategic content for your niche. Again, getting really clear on that niche, coming up with that brainstorm list, sectioning it out into, you know, 3 to 5 content pillars, creating some subtopics, and then taking that list and now just writing content ideas down. You could take that and maybe you have 50 ideas written down. That's almost a year of content if you're posting once a week. So it doesn't really have to be so hard. We think, oh my God, I need so many ideas for content, when we could have this one master list and just keep referring to it over and over. And I want you to remember, you can always make changes to your content pillars over time, as your business changes, maybe your program changes, or maybe you're making a pivot, you're not tied to this forever. This is just to help you really organize your content right now, but you can always shift and change. And I want to tell you that because I know some people spend forever trying to get this perfect because they're like, this is the one time I have to do this. You can always come and revisit this. I've had clients do that. You know, you might start working with more clients now with these, you know, different content pillars and figure that they actually need one other pillar added in, or maybe I need to take one away or change it. And that's totally okay. You can definitely do this. This is a work in progress, and this is really you testing this out in real time. So that is all. If you have any questions, let's get into questions. And then also you can connect with me on Instagram at 𝗕𝗲𝘁𝗲𝗿. And I also have a podcast, Next Level Nutrition Biz podcast, if you want to check that out.
All right, that was incredible. Thank you so much for taking us through that. Yeah, as you're talking about it, it just like resonates with me so much because I go back to those days where I was talking to everybody and nobody all at once. And it's amazing how when I was in this state of wanting to keep it broad because I didn't want to limit my options, I had a harder time coming up with content than when I really narrowed in my niche. And I had many iterations before I actually got there. But once I did find my, you know, the niche that really landed with me, content creation became so simple. Like the amount of ideas I couldn't keep up with.
Totally. You think it's going to be the complete opposite. And I should have mentioned that more. I'm glad you brought that up because you think you're like, oh my gosh, when I narrow down, I'm only going to have a couple things. But then you really start to realize, no, there are like so many things I could talk about. So, you know, you even need to, even though when you niche down, you still need to be careful not to try to cover a million things, especially when it comes to helping someone with their health or wellness. We don't want to teach 101 things to our client. That's maybe too many things and might be too overwhelming. So we want to keep it, you know, very clear and specific.
Yeah, and I love how you kind of use some of those keywords of strategic or intentional with content, because that's just it. Like our clients, I always like to emphasize to people that I'm talking to that our clients don't know as much as us. And we really have to put ourselves in their shoes to remember, like, they're starting from scratch and they're coming in to learn about this for the very first time. So yeah, as practitioners, we're like so in it and we want to like share all the science and the nitty gritty and like the stuff that excites us, but taking a step back and looking at it from our clients' perspective can really help simplify things too. Like you don't need to get so super technical with every little thing as well, which is another, like, it was a weight off my shoulders at least, because as much as I'm interested in it, I was like, how do I really convey this in the right way and make sure that I'm being accurate and all of that? Absolutely. Yeah. So I love that. You touched on this a little bit in regards to kind of shifting. So like I said, I had many iterations in my practice, and I know that's pretty common when people are first starting out, or maybe they're general and they're just starting to niche. So for someone who's now got their niche and they're starting to focus in on their content, I often hear people feel like they need to go through like a rebrand or restart or like start from scratch. And what would your advice be to those people who have been on social media and sharing their message for a while, but now they're starting to get really focused?
Yeah, this is so common. People are like in this like tough spot where they're like, okay, do I just throw everything out and start fresh? Do I just pivot the content I already have? I think it will really depend. Like if you're like old audience, like let's say you have some friends and family members and they might not even be the people that, you know, could get on board with this pivot or this transition. In some cases, it does make sense to kind of release the old and start new. Also, I just actually talked to someone yesterday who made the decision to start a new Instagram because she was feeling so stressed trying to, you know, work with the old Instagram that wasn't her audience, wasn't her people. So I think if it's causing you anxiety and stress, it's okay, right? You just do whatever is going to make you feel better and actually do the business. But I also want to encourage you that people aren't really paying attention as much as we might think. Like I think we think, oh my gosh, if I post something new, they're going to leave, they're going to think I'm ridiculous. You know, that's not usually the case. People are very forgiving. So I just like to let my clients know, like, if you're pivoting or changing, you can do a little announcement and be like, here's what you can expect moving forward. I would love for you to stay. If not, you know, no hard feelings, or however you want to approach that. So you could do like an actual post on social media, or, you know, just kind of even show the behind the scenes of while you're making the pivot, so people feel on board. It's not like one day you've just completely changed. They've been through the thought process of why. And then I think at the end of the day, people are going to be on board if they see your passion and excitement for this new thing. So just be really clear about, why did you do this? Be transparent, make them feel part of the process. And I pivoted, you know, I started out as a holistic nutritionist, pivoted to business coach. It was super scary, but I still have my same Instagram. If you scroll back, it was my nutritionist Instagram, or my Instagram for my nutrition business. And I pivoted that. So it's always possible. Just do whatever feels best to you.
Yeah, and I think it's an important reminder because, like you said, I have continued one Instagram through the entire duration with all my different iterations. And one thing to note is that you might go through a little bit of a lag. Like, you might have a little bit of a time where there's a disconnect, where you're starting to kind of shift from your current audience into this new targeted audience, where you've gotten your new followers who are following you for your new content, and to just like stay the course through that, because sometimes it can be so discouraging if you see some of that engagement drop, but it's just that shift in audience happening.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, I also really liked what you talked about in regards to repurposing your content. That was actually the theme of our very first Better Business conversation session that we had internally with our team, because Practice Better is all about streamlining and creating efficiencies in your business. So we really love that idea. What would you recommend for someone? I know a lot of people are looking at, you know, external apps or programs to help them recycle content. What's your opinion on those? Like, do you think that regurgitating things in the exact same way is good, or do you think it should be kind of modified to fit the platform in the right way? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's kind of two answers here, because I feel like whatever is going to help you stay consistent with the recycling of it or repurposing, that's what you need to do. So if that means using an app to do that for you, and I know there are many out there. I think SocialBee is one. I think Meet Edgar is another. You know, some of them do come with like a higher price point, but again, it's kind of like a virtual assistant on demand. Like, you just set it, forget it, it's doing the job for you. So I think if that's going to help you do it, then sure. But one thing that I do notice, like trending kind of even on social media or just in the way of like marketing your business now, is that people don't really want kind of cookie cutter, like more, I guess, ad-like information. I think people are really starting to see, like, this is an ad, this is something that was more generic, and this is something more, you know, that's for community building or more curated for me. And I think if people start seeing that same message over and over, like that same post that's being reposted, they might start feeling like it's more of like a disconnect and it's more like an ad, or they might not really understand why this is coming up over and over. So I would say, if you have the capacity and the time to put some personalization into these posts and not have it just be this same repeatable thing every time, make it more personal so your community knows like you are there and you are, you know, coming up with fresh content, even though if it's old content, you're refreshing it, but it's not just like, you know, you've kind of set it, forget it, and you're not trying your best to like give them up-to-date information.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I know that I resonate with seeing messages that feel like they're speaking to me and not a repeat. But there's also something to be said about convenience. But I love the idea that you could take like a long form written blog post and like pull out some of those key things in the blog post. And then you have like 15 tweets, or you have, you know, 15 really short and sweet Instagram captions, or things that you can go onto your stories and talk about. So lots of ways of really revamping your content, which is just such a nice thing to keep in mind, because we're all so overwhelmed with all the things to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Let's make it easy for ourselves.
Yeah, totally. So for those that want to connect with you further, I know you mentioned your Instagram. Do you have any kind of things up and coming, workshops, events? Where can people connect with you and learn more?
Yeah, so I have a free workshop on my website. It's called 6 Steps to Start Your Nutrition Business and Sign Your First Paying Clients. So if you're just getting started, you can check that out at stephanielong.ca/workshop. And if you're looking for more like growth strategies, marketing support for your nutrition or health and wellness business, you can check out my membership at stephanielong.ca/membership. It's a low-cost monthly membership where we have, I think now over 15 to 20 trainings inside, and they're all specific for your nutrition business.
Awesome. Yeah. And highly recommend checking out your podcast too, because I mean, I just hear some of this information and think how much easier my life would have been if I had it right from the get-go. But isn't that all? All right. Well, that is it for today's session. Thank you again so much, Stephanie, for walking us through that. That was incredible. So hopefully we'll be able to have you back another time.
Thank you so much, Brittany. This was fun.
Yeah. Thanks, Stephanie.